Okay, well, we had a major crash on that one. I'll tell you, that was just crazy. Um, and I want to apologize to any of you folks that are watching the broadcast and you saw us, we just crashed on this. But we are back, and fear not, we will be back. We were just talking about this story, and this is a Daily Wire story, and it's about a group of Christians that had a May Day celebration, and that it was broken up by a bunch of leftist protesters, and and so the mayor of the city basically was saying, hey, we're going to investigate the Christians in this whole thing. That you shouldn't have been here in this whole thing, and this is where we're perplexing. So Aaron, I want to get your thoughts on this. And is am I just going crazy? Is should the mayor be investigating the Christians or the leftists?
Yeah, I don't know why he's investigating the Christian. They gave them, so they said that that group of people um applied for a permit, and they wanted to do it in Pike's Place, which is the fish market in Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
pretty famous place. And they said, no, we have Cal Anderson Park is open, and it's pretty big size. Well, Cal Anderson Park. So I used to live in King County. I lived in Bremerton, and Cal Anderson Park is a park where is a big hangout for the LGBTQ. It's actually named after the first openly gay legislator. So
Oh,
it's like,
okay.
yeah, they kind of claimed it. Anyways, so they were having like a revival tent, kind of tent meeting without a meeting. They were,
Mm-hmm.
um, preaching the gospel. They were giving people haircuts, like all kinds of stuff. And they said that it was like Antifa, and now they have like another one. It's called Trans Tifa,
Oh
um,
gosh.
and all these all these gay rights activists showed up there, and just the pastor said that he was talking, and somebody jumped over the thing to come punch him in the face, and he had a guy that was standing there and took him down to the ground. He's like, if that guy wasn't there and took him down, you would have seen like pastor punches out. He's like,
Sure.
I'm like, oh man, what are we gonna do here? I'm ready. Okay, let's go. And then that guy, one of his workers actually took the guy down. But 13 people were arrested,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them's being held right now for assaulting a police officer. I mean, it was, and then the mayor's, yeah, he wants to investigate the church, but the city gave them the permit and told them you should go to this park. This is one that's open for you. And then wonder why these people showed up there protesting them. Like, I mean, this
Yes.
I this is a big deal. You know what I mean?
This
It's
is.
not just, you can't now have freedom of religion in the country, and if it offends the gay
Mm-hmm.
community. That to me
Yeah.
is just
Well, here's
crazy.
so. Yeah. So this is on many levels just bad. It's just bad, and
Yeah.
I think for a mayor of a town to sit there and go, oh my gosh, I'm going to side with a homosexual group, a group of homosexuals who were not permitted to be in the park, were not having an event at the park, but broke up a lawful assembly. That's one. But number two, that for him to go out and say now he's going to make public statements about it and going, hey guys, guess what? We're going to get to the bottom of this and find out why you didn't just go to another place. I'm going, hey, you should have never. It didn't matter where they're at. This is a lawful assembly. If I would fight for the right for anybody to go any place they want, but but that being as it may, the mayor didn't do that. The mayor represents everybody. But number two, he should have represented the Christian folks even more, because one, if he would just look at what he does for a living, he's a mayor of a town. His job is not to sit there and go, I'm siding with the gay folks. He should be siding with the Christian folks. That's America. And the reason why I say this, there was another story about a teacher who was basically fired because she had a cross on her desk. Um, I mentioned this earlier. I got this brand new Bible, and it's a big. You saw it at church. It's a big old Bible. But one of the things it talks about is it talks about the original charter for this country. Okay, and I love this when people are getting it, because we actually have pretty good response even at church. Or, oh yes, people who know about the founding of this country. But the original charter for the people who came to this country, the purpose for them having that charter was for one reason. It's for the propagation of the Christian religion. That's why the people came here to this country. And so the Christians are just being Americans. The teacher was just being an American. She had a cross on her desk. Okay, that's her job. Her job is to sit there and tell everybody about Jesus. And so for a mayor to sit there and say that I don't like Christianity, maybe you're in the wrong country. maybe you shouldn't be a mayor because you don't know what your history is. So what do you think about that, Eric?
Well, is this the same one that protested with the one that got sprayed with pepper spray? Is this the same guy? I don't remember. I don't know who
the mayor?
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he's the one that got sprayed with pepper spray because he was out protesting with the Antifa trying to burn the courthouse down. Is that the same guy?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that was the same guy.
I'm not surprised, right? Because we know that this is more than just like American, not American values, whatever it is. It's a spiritual battle. Like when I heard this story, I'm thinking about Ahab, Elijah, and the prophets of Baal.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here you have a part of the country that's gone so far away from the founding documents, the charter, think about just the law in our country was taken after God's law. You know what I mean? It was modeled after the Bible, like the law. And it's going so far that they have decided this is a safe space for these things you want to do. We don't care about who lives here already and what it is and what our founding was. We're going to make a safe space for you. Just like the sanctuary cities, same thing. We're going to make a sanctuary city. Any criminal can come from any prison in any other country. It's fine. We're going to make it a safe place for you to be. They don't care about the people there. People don't want that. They didn't want the Chaz, the can't remember what Chaz stood for, but during the riots,
it was in Portland or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was the same thing. They don't care about the people that lived around there. They're gonna show that they're just all inclusive, and we're gonna make it a safe space for criminals. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Mindset.
Yeah, and I think we've gotten so far away from what the founding fathers wanted for this country that if they came back right now, they would go, "Oh my God, what are you doing? What did you do to America? This is not America." I go back to this book, and once again, I'm just David Barton, I'm showing this book off all over the place, folks. This is because I think it's going to be very interesting. It's called The Founder's Bible, and in the Founder's Bible, this is the second edition. David Barton, who is a historian, he's a pastor, and he got together with some other guys, and they put together this book, and it's full of, it's just packed full of historical documents, packed full of founding stuff. It's very cool. And so so one of the things it talks about because they talk about most of the founding fathers were deists, that they didn't believe in Jesus Christ. And I go, boy, if they were deists, they really weren't good at it, because they said a lot of Christian stuff. But one of the things that was prolific about it was that some of the founding fathers said that if you take the Bible out of America, it will cease to be America. I'm going to say it again. If you take the Bible out of America, then it will cease to be America. And the reason for that, can you guess? So I'll give you one of the reasons why, okay? And maybe you could add to this. All of our laws are based upon this. Our Constitution is based upon the Bible. Our way of civic engagement, civic government, is based upon the Bible. And if you start telling people, oh, you can't and you won't, and this and the Bible, and then guess what? You're going to have anarchy. I mean, that's what you're going to have. You're going to have a lot of anarchy, and you're going to have, oh gosh, you're going to have Antifa. Oh, sorry. You're going to have, you're going to have DEI. You're going to
You'd
have
have
all the,
Chaz everywhere.
you're going to have Chaz everywhere. Um, Aaron, based upon what we just talked about, you're talking about people trying to take the Bible out, trying to take the word out of civic engagement. Um, have you seen the examples of it, of what the manifestation of that could be, or what's going to happen if you do that, and moving forward, can you see where this is going to lead to in our country?
Well, I think this story that we talked about was a great example of what happens when people want to take it out, right? That people were hurt. There was a police officer that was injured by them. Okay, I remember when I lived in San Diego, and
Mm-hmm.
this was like 2003, maybe around that time. There was this humongous cross. When you got on the 8 freeway, you would see this cross, and it was a huge cross, and it was in this park. And I didn't really know what it was at first. I just saw it, and I just barely moved there. But what happened was that was a World War I memorial. Was that big cross?
Mm-hmm.
And these people hated it. They hated it. You're pushing your religion in our face. They wanted to tear it down. And as liberal as California was, the city said, no, this is a World War I memorial. We're not tearing it down. And they protested and they wanted to tear that cross down because it offended them as they were driving on the 8 freeway. That cross
Mm.
offended people. It hurt their
Mm.
feelings. They didn't want to see it. Even though it was a memorial to dead soldiers from World War I,
Sure.
it offended them so much that they just did everything they could to take it down, and it didn't. I don't know if it's still there. I mean, but I remember then they were like, "No, we're not taking it down,"
Yeah.
And this
Oh
is
my
the
God.
kind of thing, like, we're gonna take it all away from you, and so it doesn't offend us, and we don't care
Mm.
if you have to live in a Chaz zone or you have to see these Antifa riots all the time. We don't care, as long as we're not offended
As long as we're not
by
offended.
Jesus.
Isn't that funny? This is crazy. I think what we're seeing from our nation is a nation that has lost its moral and it's lost its foundational footing. That the reason why I go back to this. I'm going to keep doing this. I think what we as Christians have done is we have forgotten. We've not studied. We don't realize what our country was founded upon, and what our founders founded our country on. Because if we did, we would see this and we'd go, wait a minute, that's not even American. That what you're saying, that's not even America. That's some communist atheist thing. That's not America. Um, just recently, the Supreme Court basically said that they are not that they we're not going to hear a case, and the case is basically these boys had these shirts, and the shirt said basically there's only two genders, male and female, and how they and so the Supreme Court said they're not going to listen to this case. But here's the deal: um, the Bible, these boys understood that all they're doing is telling everybody that what the word says, and that's really what the founders of this country were doing. When they came here, they were going, "Hey, we are going to spread the gospel to this new world." That's what the charter was that was signed. It was 1606, I believe it was. Okay, that's my new. I'm so smart now, right? It's the new information I got. Okay, 1606, the charter. That's why this country was founded, was to the propagation of the Christian religion. That's what they call it, the propagation of the Christian religion. And that if anything other than that is anti-Christ, one, but it's anti-American. That's really because that's the reason why we were founded. The country is a Christian nation. That's what we do. And so when you see things like this, when you see Antifa, when you see these LGBTQ, DEI, when you see this woke movement, when you see all these things that are popping their head up. I mean, what should Christians do if they only know that much about the founding fathers, about why this America was built, about what they believed that Christians should do? If we only knew that much, what should Christians be doing when they're seeing this happen in the marketplace?
So this is really good, right?
Mm.
Let's say this, right? You ran for office,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, you didn't win the election, but you ran.
I know. I
That's
know.
what
Yes.
Christians should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
is what they should be doing. They should be teachers. They should run
Yeah.
for office. They
Mm-hmm.
should become people on boards. Okay, because if all judges, all these areas of influence are only ran by dark people, it's not going to change. You can yell and scream as loud as you want, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to run it, right? This right here
Mm-hmm.
is this is a newspaper
Okay.
from I think it's like January 4th, uh 1800. And
Wow.
this is after George Washington died. There's a lot of articles in here that people had wrote in saying how much they loved him and how they
Mm.
respected him, what a godly man he was. But there's also articles in here from John Adams and
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to them speak, not
Yeah.
only is it, um, highfalutin English, right?
Highfalutin. Yes.
Highfalutin English, but you
Yeah.
can you can hear in the words that, from Congress. Here's a letter. This is what we're doing. This is what we're talking about. There's
Mm-hmm.
no like, oh, just sign the bill. We'll read it later. There's
Sure.
here's what we're doing. This is for the people, right? That's what these articles are about.
Mm-hmm.
And we had so much freedom,
Yeah.
right? Like we can how what are we seeing today that
Yeah.
goes right back to that Bible, right? The Israelites had freedoms, right? They had God as their king, okay? And what did they do? Over time, these things crept in. Don't marry the foreigners because they'll make you worship their God. But what did
Mm-hmm.
they do? They did it anyway because they had the freedoms, just like we have these freedoms in our country. And over
Mm-hmm.
time, well, it's my freedom. It's my freedom too. It's my truth. Okay, now my truth is supersedes your truth. Well, that's not real. No, the country started in what is it, 16 whatever project, where the first slaves that were brought here.
1619. Sure.
Yeah, 1619 project, right? So that's the real truth. All that other stuff, now they were just evil white people that wanted to enslave the blacks, so they started this country. Read your history. Read the
Yeah.
Bible. Read your history. You can see again the same thing happening over. The Israelites had freedom to
Mm-hmm.
live, and
Yes.
these things crept in. Jezebel, Ahab,
Yeah.
Elisha. We were talking about that, right? What do you see? The prophets of Baal on the hill, right? It's the same thing.
Sure.
But
Same thing.
why didn't the people of God stand up and say, this is wrong? And instead, you had 6,000 prophets in the caves and Elijah
Yes.
thinking he's the last one. That I don't understand.
Yeah.
Maybe the freedom mindset enables people to say, you know what? Fine. If that's what you want to do, that's your freedom. Just do what you want to do. But then when it starts to put its boot on you, then you're like, okay, no, I don't want to do this anymore. But we've lost all the positions. We've lost the judge seats. We lost the
Yes.
city councilmen, the mayors. We've lost. You have a mayor who's fighting out. He wants to investigate the people he gave a permit to have a park in a park that was named after the first gay legislator in Washington. I don't think it. I think it was done on purpose. To be honest with you,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think they said we're going to give you this park because we know what's going to happen.
Could be. Yeah.
Like
Could be.
this is
Yeah.
their. This is like saying we're going to send you into the lion's den and see if the lion takes a bite out of you. They knew exactly what was going to happen if they
Yeah.
put a Christian revival in a park and that
Yeah.
kind of park.
Sure. Well, you know what? I think that it's a Christian park, though. It might have a name that was changed to represent some gay guy, okay? But it's a Christian park. There is not a non-Christian anything in America. It has been co-opted by
Exactly.
non-Christians This
Yeah, it's my
country
point
was
exactly.
this country was founded and dedicated to Jesus Christ. We got into, I was reading this, and I'm so smart now. Just reading just
Oh
a
my
few
goodness,
pages.
I'm just in awe of you, Sherman.
I'm so smart now. It's ridiculous. There's not enough room in the room for my head. It's that America, even though people say that America was never found a Christian nation, our first war that we ever got into was, besides the British for our freedom, was that Barbary Coast thing, right? So we fought against these Barbary pirates. They were Muslims, so they're Muslims who are basically, this is before we even had a navy, and the Muslims are basically just commandeering everything that we've got, taking our people, and so, and why did they do that? And it wasn't just because they wanted our goods. It's because they knew we were Christians. And they said, you're a Christian nation and we don't like Christians. Our mandate as Muslims, because this is right when they first started their whole religion and stuff like that, is that their religion said that it was part of their religion to take Christians as slaves.
Yes.
How do you do that? Well, how do you do that against a non-Christian nation? Well, you don't. But you do it against a Christian nation, and they considered America a Christian nation.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, so this country was dedicated to Christianity. It was started for Christianity. All the things that we did as our early days of our country were all Christian. That does not change over time. It actually still most people still believe that we're a Christian nation. Some people say we're a post-Christian nation, but guess what? The Bible says that God's word and his promises they don't have an expiration date on them. They don't go away just because man changes doesn't mean God changes. And so I would say that America still, through all of our goofiness, is still a Christian nation. So how can a mayor tell a bunch of Christians, "Hey, that's our park now"? That's not our park. That's always been our park. We just have to take it back.
Exactly, right. Maybe somebody there needs to, maybe a Christian person with Christian values needs to get in on the board of parks in Seattle. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've given up all these places because I think a lot of people just thought, well, I just need to go home and live a peaceable life and not bother anybody with my whatever it is. I don't know. But I mean, there's so many faults, so many failures, and the generation today not teaching their kids
Mm-hmm.
properly. I know that a lot do, but not, let's just say 80% didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing what happens when you give a timeout instead of spanking a child.
Sure.
They beat up police in the park, right? Because they don't get their way.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, what I don't know exactly about the French. I'm sure it was, but let's say the Spanish when they landed here,
Mm-hmm.
right in Florida. First thing they did, let's have mass, okay, because they're
Mm-hmm.
all Catholic. And then the Protestants, first thing they did, let's have a church service. God takes his covenants. He takes covenant seriously.
Oh,
If
sure.
people make a covenant with God, even if those people fall away, God will still keep his side of the bargain. He
Yes.
is not going to just say, okay, well, the covenant's over because you didn't keep your. No, he's going to
Yeah.
keep that because that he knows in 4 generations it's going to be back on.
It's
So I'm
gonna
going
be
to
back.
keep my side of the So God, I even in my own life, I made a covenant with God when I was 17, and I did not keep it for so long. But there were so many times I look back now and think I was hungry and He fed me. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't have a place to go and He looked out for me. How, in the weirdest ways, like we were talking about earlier. I always wait till He says, "Okay, here it is," and it's usually the last minute, and I
Mm-hmm.
get it, but it's in His timing.
Yeah.
If something happens that day, He want to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
however it is. But it's always He keeps His side of the covenant. Our
It
founding
does.
fathers, the Pilgrims, made a
Yeah.
covenant with God, and He keeps it because He
Yeah.
knows the fruit that comes 5 generations later, 6 generations later.
And that's the best thing about God, isn't it? God,
Yeah,
God is faithful. He's not going to change.
that's
I
right.
know this story. It's bigger than it actually is even being portrayed. because I don't
Yeah.
think that this mayor is probably thinking, oh, I'm fighting for the LGBTQ thing. I go, no, what you're doing is Christians are putting a stake in the ground, and they're going, no, we are not going anything. We're not going anyplace. No,
That's right.
we're this celebration. What we're doing is we're coming back as a nation. I think that let me put this question to you: do you think America is starting to turn back and starting to think to itself, "Man, we've screwed up. We've really screwed up, and maybe we should start thinking about because our kids are screwed up, our schools are screwed up. We went through 4 years of Biden, and we saw what that got us. Because right now, President Trump's approval rating um, is at 50% right now.
That's awesome. I
Also,
mean,
there was another article that was talking about that consumer confidence is at the highest it's been in years. I mean, it's at all time highs. Do you think that the American people are starting to turn back and go, "Hey guys, guess what? We screwed up, and we and maybe we should give that. Maybe we should give conservatism. Maybe we should give that Jesus. Forget conservatism. Let's give Jesus a try."
I think, I think I think God's plan. Let's just say this, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
been talking for I don't know 3 4 years. I don't know exactly how long we've been talking about
Mm-hmm.
these things. God had a plan. He said, "Look, I'm going to expose the roots, the dark roots of what's happening."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, but in the meantime, you're going to I'm going to send you out of your nation, right? What he did with the Israelites, the Babylonians came and took them over, right? Or the
Mm-hmm.
Persians or whoever um it was. Okay, he sent them with the Babylonian was Nebuchadnezzar, right? So he sent
Yeah.
them out of Israel, and they had to live in 80 years of bondage to the Babylonians. But in that meantime, you had the book of Daniel that come out of there. And that was the most amazing things they saw. They saw the power of God working through Daniel, through his three buddies. I always mess up the names. Meshach,
Shadrach.
Shadrach,
Shadrach,
Meshach,
Meshach.
and Abednego.
Yeah.
So, but they saw the power of God working through those four men because those four men were not okay. I'm just a slave now. All right, Nebuchadnezzar wants me to bow. I'm just gonna bow. But they saw the power of God through those four men who went into the fire and came out. Right, so God had to punish them a little bit. Right, so what happens here? We're gonna elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and we're gonna let these people run the country, and all these things are gonna happen, and every single thing that Joe Biden said, here's my plan: Afghanistan, uh, the Build Back Better. Every single thing that he did failed, and it would
Everyone.
fail miserably. But oh no, he's doing handstands and calculus at the same time as running the country. No, it was such a lie. And now, right, these
Yes.
roots are starting to be dug up. Okay,
Yes.
they're starting to be dug up, and you're hearing, "Oh, well, it might be a cover up." No, 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 it is 100%. But the people had to go through, and now they have to see the power of God working
Yeah.
through
Mm-hmm.
the Daniels, right?
Yeah.
The Isaiahs, the Elishas. The people are seeing the power of God, and people are realizing like, wow. I mean, I was such asleep. I was living in my freedoms, doing my truth, my life, not caring that there was a whole nation out here, and this generation, this younger generation, is falling off a cliff. And now
Mm-hmm.
I do see. I mean, let's look at this, right? First 100 days, what did he do? He got put godly people on his cabinet and said, "Go do what you're gonna do.
Yep.
I'm not gonna dictate to you. I'm gonna put you in charge of the Bureau of Land Management. I'm gonna put you in charge of the military, and I'm gonna trust, right, that God is first and foremost of everything. And then I'm going to say, go do what you're going to do. I'm going to let you run with it. And you're going to, and look at what's happening now, right? You have JFK. I know you wanted to talk about that, but JFK Jr., um,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to make it mandatory for COVID shots for children. And, pregnant women don't have to. It's just the beginning. And what
Yeah.
was the first thing that the liberal media, that the prophets of Baal, oh, he's going to
Oh,
kill people. All
sure.
right. So
Yeah.
tariffs, right? Same thing with tariffs. No, we're going to squeeze the world because they've been squeezing us. So we're going to squeeze them a little bit. First way, the biggest way to hurt people is their money, right? Like, we're going to
Yes.
squeeze Europe, the European Union, because if I don't know if you know about the VAT taxes and stuff. I buy things
Sure.
sometimes from Europe. We
Uh-huh.
ship stuff. Cecilia's business. We ship stuff to Europe a lot actually, and the VAT tax is almost it about the same. It's like doubling the price, but
Really?
that's to us. Oh yeah,
That's
I
us.
bought
Sure.
some stuff. I bought some stuff one time from uh Ukraine, not Ukraine, but one of those countries over. I can't remember. It was a couple years ago, and it was like $130, and the VAT tax was $90.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it almost
It's
doubled
crazy.
the price of what I was buying. And
Sure.
this is what they do to us. So he said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to squeeze you, and let's see what happens when the coins start falling out of your pockets.
Yeah.
Well, what did the prophets of Baal do? Oh, he's going to ruin the country. Oh, we're going
He's
to
gonna
go
run the
broke, blah, blah,
country.
blah. But we're
Yeah.
actually
We're,
moving up. This is the power of God working through one person to say, watch what I can do for you. And
yeah.
now people are realizing that the prophets of Baal were dirty. They're
They were
cutting
dirty.
their right now. I see
Sure.
them as cutting their arms.
Oh
You know,
yes.
hey, where's your God? Is he on the toilet? You know
I
what I'm
know.
talking about. That is he
That
relieving himself right now?
is he
This is
relieving
what
it? Maybe
how
he's relieving himself. Yeah, I know. That's
yeah, this
funny.
is how I see them right now. They're like
Yes.
grasping at straws. You have
Sure.
this lady come on saying that JFK Jr. is going to kill children and pregnant women because they can't.
Yes.
And then you have another guy that comes on. He's like on the board of health saying nobody talked to me about this. Usually, I mean, it should have been.
Sure.
I should have approved this. And they're like,
I should have
"Who are
approved
you?"
this. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, and it's like they're squeezing. Like see how
Yes.
many coins fall out of your pocket. It's. I mean, if you
This is
are
the best.
if your
This is
eyes are open, you're
yes.
seeing the power of God work through these people who
Yeah.
put God first. Just like in your life, just like in my
Yeah.
life, maybe
Sure.
on such a small, it's not on such a big scale, but
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing it.
Well, I think they're
just
starting to see it now because
yeah,
I think one of the things that I think you're alluding to, kind of around, is that people were seeing over the last 4 years, right? We were talking about the last 4 years, the whole Biden thing, is that now those people are looking back and they're going, these people lied to us. That guy wasn't even leading the country. People are starting to have a second look. I mean, people. I saw this thing on just this morning. They had a man on the street type thing, and they were stopping people in New York. They're going, "Hey, what do you think about the Democrat Party?" And to a man, these guys said, "These guys suck. These guys are the worst. They lied to us." One lady said, "I will never give them money because they lied to me." And people are starting to they're starting to have buyer's remorse because they trusted the Democrat Party. I don't know why they trust them. But when you start getting diehard, or I shouldn't say, when you start getting the man on the street who is saying, I'm going to have no more to do with the Democrat Party, you know something is happening, that there's starting to be some momentum. But even more than that, they did a poll about these, and I would assume it's the Democrats who will answer them. They're saying that 4% of Democrats are starting to think of that Trump is probably the way to go, which normally you would never see. Most Democrats are going, nope, not going to do it. Nope, nope. I hate Trump. He's the big word. He's an existential
threat.
He's a threat, right?
Oh,
So, right? He's an existential
so
threat. But now they're thinking, wait a minute. There's something. There might be something to this guy. Let me read you a scripture, because Pastor Tommy brought this up on a prior show. He says, because you notice the people are starting to change. People are starting to go, hey, guess what? I got a couple of bucks in my pocket. I mean, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this. Trump's voter approval is through the roof right now. The consumer confidence is through the roof. And I said, and Pastor Tommy said it's found in Proverbs 29:2. I had to look it up. It says, when the righteous thrive, the people rejoice.
Yeah.
The people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened over the last 4 years? people were groaning like you had an app on your phone. Just groaning the whole time, right? But now people are starting to go, hey, this is not bad. I'm starting to feel pretty good about America. What does that tell you about what does that tell you about the direction of the country when people are starting to feel an optimism that's going through their spirits?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great thing, right? I feel like that. I
Mm.
mean, geez, the last 4 years, I never would have taken Cecilia out for the weekend like the way we did. I mean, oh my goodness, the steak was so expensive, but I felt like, I don't feel like I'm spending as much money on,
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff that I was before. Okay, I'll buy you $100 steak. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it feels, you gotta. I think about like this. Like we've seen the page turn, and people are starting to
Mm.
realize that that page has turned.
Mm-hmm.
But um, if you, how are you gonna live on the next and the next on the other side of the page? Are you
Sure.
gonna give God the glory and say, you know what, this is where we're going, this is where the country's going, it's
Yeah.
good, like I believe that this man really just loves the country and wants to
Sure.
do good for the people, not that he's just trying to enrich his rich friends. I don't see that, but you have to disconnect from that dark side, and if
Mm-hmm.
you don't, in the Bible it says that the wicked, they'll mash their teeth, right? They're gonna mash their
Yeah.
teeth,
Sure.
right? Because I'm not, no, I believe he's the devil, right? And they're mashing their teeth and they're trying to punch pastors in the park. It's the same thing. The wicked, this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's you got to disconnect from that and come
Mm.
to the. I'll just let me just give this. I had a vision, and it was
Uh-huh.
these people, and they were laying in a room, and it was just a small room, and there was people, and they were laying on the floor, and they were wearing green t-shirts and blue t-shirts,
Yeah.
and they were young kids, and they were all over the floor, and they were just kind of like they were dead. And I remember I was looking, but I saw out the window was beautiful outside. It was
Mm.
grass and a tree, and it was just gorgeous. But in this room, all these people, and I listened to your show the other day with that
Yeah.
lady, and she said she was a green witch, and I totally thought about
Oh.
that that vision, because it was very important that I knew that half of them were wearing green and the other half were blue. So I looked up what is blue. Okay, she said that, of course she's a Christian now, and she's, moved from that. But I I thought of why did I see green and blue before? And then I'm sure we talked about this. When I looked at what does this mean? Well, blue represents a the earth type witches, and it also represents socialism. And the
Oh.
green, not earth, I'm sorry. Oh geez, I have to look it up now.
Mm.
I didn't save it. But one was like the earth type witches, the other one was like socialist. Blue, it represented like socialism and all this stuff. But it was, you know, oh, let me see if I can hold on. Give me a quick second.
Sure. No.
Uh
That's very interesting. So this was the show that. So we had a lady. She was newly ordained. Her name is Julie, and so she was talking about that she was a green witch, and that was the interesting thing about it. And I thought to myself, what the heck is a green witch? Because one of the things I thought about the whole green thing was people who were into the whole green movement, the people who were into, and that they don't realize that they're actually borderlining on witchcraft. And she said, "Oh yeah, that's," she goes, "That's exactly what it is. That these, and it's not as though they're saying that, hey, I'm just an environmentalist, but they're worshiping the earth, they're worshiping stuff like this, which is very interesting. But you're saying that part of the thing that you caught from that though was that there was an element of the conversation that you actually said, "Oh my gosh, that was part of the vision that the Lord had given you." So what?
as
Go ahead.
soon as she said green witch, like, oh, I didn't know there was even such a thing. I,
I had no
I
idea.
knew that there was like dark witches and light, but it's
Sure.
all witchcraft. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no good part of it.
No.
it's, oh, I'm a good witch, right? The good witch of the north and the bad witch, wicked witch of the west. They're
Mm-hmm.
still witches. It's not good things, but so blue refers to positive magic, and it refers to like the leave, like leaving people with a positive reading. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I don't like it, but anyways, I remember it stood out, so I had to know why there was green and there was blue. So you got like the earth worshippers, and
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the positive witches, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I remember seeing that, and they were all just laid out on the floor like they were all
Yeah.
dead. But outside the window was beautiful green trees. It was just like I needed to get past this
Yeah.
part to be outside. So, anyways, there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting, though. We've got coming up. We've got a lot of things that are going on in this great old country of ours. But one of the things I think we're going to see is we're going to continue to see something like you were talking about. You were saying that people are going to start being that evil with this whole thing with Joe Biden. I mean, it's probably we didn't talk about it, but it's basically that Joe Biden has been basically not running the country, or he didn't run the country like the last 4 years, and there are going to be investigations into this. And that people are going to start jumping out of windows. I have a feeling you're probably going to see suicides because they're going to say, oh, we never thought we were going to get caught, but they're getting caught now because they've got investigations that are going to go into. So what are your thoughts going to be on it?
Treason. Remember that
treason.
We talked about it in the second episode.
Yeah.
Treason. These people who said, you can't do this to me, I'm an American. Nope. Yeah. Treason it is then. Yeah. We were going to talk about it the other day, and we got the show crashed, and so we didn't talk about it. But yeah, that is definitely the future here.
Yeah, I think so. There reports about it already, and they're gonna start looking at it. And I can imagine right now that because Democrats are not in power right now, it's hard to hide things. It's hard to hide things, in records and everything else if you don't have access to all this stuff. And when the opposite party is in control, they're going to start searching. They're going to find stuff. They're going to find it.
I don't think they thought they were going to dig this far. They thought it was just going to be like it's always been. Oh, okay. Well, he's not going to do nothing. I don't think they thought they were going to dig this deep under the tree.
Yeah, but it's going to happen. Gosh.
Yeah, wow. It is going to happen. It's happening already.
Yeah, Aaron, I want to apologize once again because our show crashed again, but we got it back up. And once again, we're going to try to mend it all together as one big show. But oh gosh, you're on the track when stuff like this happens, right?
It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not worried one
Satan
bit.
Doesn't want this to happen at all. But brother, thank you once again, and thank you for your military service, and thank you for just being a good friend. Okay.
I do what I can.
Come on, brother. All right, come on. All right, hey, we'll see you next week, okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, and once again, folks, thank you, folks, for once again being a part of the broadcast. And we want to beg your indulgence when we're having some technical difficulties. It happens on live broadcasts, but we got it all together. So, anyways, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray, and this has been This Week in Prophecy. Thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast, folks. We will see you again next week for more of This Week in Prophecy. Check out the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or you can go on to Godstream TV. Check out the whole show. This has been Pastor Sherman Ray for This Week in Prophecy. We'll see you again next week, folks. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.